pre-war and preservation and under 1 liter. And so it's basically something we would call small bore race. And starting up front is the front-engined Elva Formula Junior 100. It's a 1959 sport Formula car. Nate Ciliano from Allison Park. Car number 99 starting up front with a quick time in qualifying of a 2:36.3. Starting second will be our first production car. And that's car 714, Bryna Rodabaugh from Reading, Pennsylvania, in a 1970 Fiat 850 Spider. Starting third is car 59, Craig Seifert from Oakdale, Pennsylvania, in his Austin Healey Sprite. Craig was out earlier in just before noon in the Sprite midget race. Starting fourth is car number 912, Cobus Renneke, who just ran the Porsche Mark race, and he came in early, I think, and so I hope he doesn't have a problem with the car. But he's gridded fourth, and Cobus is from Upper Saddle River, New Jersey.
I saw him come down.
Okay, he has lined up for the race. Starting fifth is car number 47, John Iorio from Bethel Park in Bug-Eye Sprite. Starting sixth, car 644, Chris Doerr from Chester Springs, Pennsylvania, in a 1956 Porsche 356. That's car 644. Starting seventh, car 45, Barry Prohodka from Pawleys Island, South Carolina, in a Turner Sport Mark I. Now, Barry is our one driver this weekend who was here and raced in 1983. In fact, Barry won the race in 1983 in this car.
I didn't know that.
And not only that, but then he came back and he won here, I think, maybe 4 more times in the Turner. And his victories in the Turner made me think at the time, the Turner is the car to have for the Shenley Park course. And it certainly appeared to be the case. So Barry, I don't think, has been racing lately. He's done a lot of racing, all kinds of cars, including Formula 5000, I think he said.
Yeah, I remember once showing up in Road Atlanta with a rickety trailer and a McLaren Can-Am car on a trailer. It somehow had fallen into his hands, and I'm sure he parlayed that into a better trailer at least.
He's quite a character, and it's terrific to have Barry Prohodka back. As I mentioned, he's the only racer here this weekend who raced our very first event back in the fall of 1983. And his car, the Turner Sport Mark I, it's car number 45. Starting eighth is car 372, the MGA of Monroe Snyder from Pittsburgh. It's a 1958 MGA. Then car 210, Tom Thomas in the Sprite. He just ran the Sprigget race.
Yeah, I think he came in a little early. I think wasn't he the guy that came off at 11? So he might not be there.
He might not be there, it's true. Let's see, Tom Thomas in 210. Then Niall McCabe, car 909 in his Austin car. A35. And I chatted with Niall the other day, but I didn't ask him about his car for some reason. I'm not sure why, because he brings that car here, and it's an attention getter.
Oh, heck yeah. It's so cool. And he was always a Sprigget guy, and he had all these parts, and he got the body itself out of Canada, and it had relatively little rust. And what it did had, he says, I'm a decent welder. I welded it back together and painted it in my driveway, and it is so cool, and it's quick. I mean, it is so under control going through turn 1 here. You think, oh, this upside down bathtub, whatever. But it's so cool.
So the running gear is what?
I think it's a 1275 midget. Engine.
So it's essentially an MG midget under that body.
Under that body, yeah.
Okay. Well, if you haven't seen the car,
and he's just the greatest guy.
You'll notice him when he appears. Niall McCabe. It's blue. It's car number 909. Then Steve Conson, who has this wonderful 1950 Lester. Steve, I think, told you, Manley, that he wasn't going to push this car too hard.
No, this is a fresh restoration. This car is an Amelia Island winner. It will never be raced as competitively as he used to race it, but he just brought it here to kind of bring it out and show it off. But he's definitely going to be very careful with it this weekend.
I think he said it's essentially a one of two.
Yes, there were two. The car was originally a monoposto, built in about 1950 by Harry Lester. And then in 1955, somebody got him moored with a Maserati A6 GCS, and they sort of recreated that body shape on this car and one other. And since then, another guy with the same chassis found one of these T51 chassis that's what Harry Lester called the frames that he made, has built a replica. So there's 3 of them that exist, but only 2 are correct, and one of them is very, nobody's lying about it. It's a tribute replica. Both of those cars are in England.
So this is the only one in the States, and it's a beautiful little car. It's car number 909, Niall McCabe from...
Steve Conson you were talking about there, but...
I'm sorry, Steve Conson, you're right, from Roswell, Georgia. Steve Conson, right. And then car number 22, Tom Raganetti, in his Fiat 850, has come all the way out from Denver, Colorado. So there are several classes here. So Tom and Tom Thomas and Barry Prohodka are running in an under 1 liter group here. Starting next is car number 815. That's Joe Parlanti from North Potomac, Maryland, in an Abarth Zagato 750. Then John Gould from Pittsburgh in a very distinctive car, his 1939 Mercury Sprint car.
Yes,
so John,
great to see the sprint cars.
John is telling me that his other car is a 1904 Curve Dash Olds, but he tends not to race that
Tends
car.
not to race the Curve Dash Olds. I can't imagine why.
It's 7 horsepower, he said, so not sure it would make it up our hills here. But John has this neat sprint car. It's really not a road racing car at all, but it is fun to watch these drivers manhandle cars like this around. He points out that it has a handbrake on the left side and a gear shifter between his thighs.
Yep.
Starting 15th is car 66, Abigail Patterson. Another Patterson. Abigail from Pittsburgh in Bug-Eye Sprite. And starting 16th, car 77, Alan Patterson III in this amazingly beautiful Lagonda, this 1934 Lagonda Rapier, one of the few pre-war cars in this race, along with John Gould's Mercury Sprint. Was there one other one? I think that might be it for true pre-war cars in this group. So it's great to see Alan's Lagonda out here, but I also mentioned that Alan Patterson, I guess we'd call him senior, one of the originators of the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix back in 1983, whose MGTD, I think, was the inspiration.
TC was the inspiration for the
logo of the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix. But he is also known for that big red Allard, which is not going to be raced this weekend, but it is parked in the paddock. Is it still up there this morning?
Yes, it's still up there.
Okay. So that's worth seeing and taking a photograph of, and it's just it just evokes Alan Patterson and the spirit of the creation of the event.
Right, and the history of it. Yeah. And Alan, of course, was racing way back when, in the early 50s, and he raced at Put-in-Bay.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Raced in Put-in-Bay.
And rode his friends Morgan, as his college roommate Ed Grant told me at Put-in-Bay. But I could never get Alan to come to Put-in-Bay to tell us stories because he knew that we would probably roast him. But he was always a character, always fun to be with. I can remember years helping him work on the engine. I think it's a Cadillac engine in the Allard.
I believe so.
And he was trying to fit some stuff that I could get my hands on, and nobody else was helping him. And the next year, he came over and he didn't even know who the heck I was. I guess because my head was under the hood, I guess. But always a great guy, and the family is just a fine representative of the.
All right, our pace car is in. We're looking for a start. We have the field approaching start line, and we are now racing.
You don't often see 3 wide into turn 1.
You can go into turn 1 3 wide, but I don't know what's going to come out the other end. That's right. And I think that was the Fiat Spider of Briner Rodabaugh, the yellow Fiat that managed to grab the
Probably
lead there.
and he had the Formula Junior on the inside and
Right.
the Bug Eye on the outside.
Yeah,
I think.
So that'll be fun to see. Now, between the Bug Eye and the Fiat 850, my tendency is to expect the Sprites to be
Yes.
the quicker cars.
I would expect, yes. But these are under 1 liter, so these are the 948 Sprites, not the 1275s that are in this group.
But still, I don't know what they do with Fiat engines, but do you suppose the 850 is a little bigger than 850 these days?
Oh, I'd be shocked. might be a little bigger.
So we are underway, and again, I think this is also listed as a timed race at a half hour, 30-minute race for what's described as pre-war and production under 1 liter. And actually what we tend to do is group cars by expected performance, so that you might have kind of an unusual mixture of cars,
Right.
just because of their expected performance.
Yeah, and you might recall that in the past, the T-Series MGs have been in this group. And the T-Series MGs just happened to be really fast cars. And they were really, getting to feel like this was even intimidating other true pre-war cars. And so they threw us back in with the under 1.5 liter group with all the 1275 Bug Eyes and that sort of stuff. But I think it's working out just fine.
That's Manley Ford speaking, who is an MG TD
T-Series, yeah. Enthusiast, among
driver,
other
racer,
things.
race winner, race car builder, etc.
So that's just a little change from the previous years
Yeah,
this year.
yeah. Oh, okay. It is Seifert up front. Craig Seifert.
Yep.
So I called it wrong. I thought the yellow car was the Fiat, and it wasn't. So it is the car we expected up front, and that's Craig Seifert in the yellow Bug Eye Sprite. We're just watching Steve Conson go by. It's, I guess you'd call that British racing green. It's a kind of a gray green.
It's a kind of a gray green. It is a gorgeous color on that car.
Steve actually had that car on its side, I want to say, a few years ago, maybe even farther over than that here at Shenley.
Yeah. It had a major brake failure, and he had somehow had an incorrect part in the brake system that didn't show itself until he hit the brakes going into turn 6, and so it ran up on the wall, got around. He wasn't hurt. The car was pretty badly damaged, and so he chose that to be the time to totally restore the car. And so I don't think it's going to see much in the terms of real competitive racing again, if ever.
I think he recognizes now, and maybe he recognized all along, that it's just such a special car. It's such a special car that it needs to be treated, especially now that it's looking.
And he's since turned it into a street legal car. Then it was a race car, and it didn't have any taillights. The headlights didn't really work. Now it's got turn signals, taillights, and extra windshield you can put on it, so they can run vintage rallies with it or just cruise the open road. So it's intended to have a more leisurely life, but it's not going to be sitting in a barn just with a cover on it.
Yeah.
No. was that? What was that play? Waiting for Godot or waiting for Data?
Here. I don't know whether you can read it, but
That's
there
okay.
it is. So is this current? It's counting, so I'm guessing that it is current. I think so. Not getting page 2. Oh, there they are. You have to push the button, I guess. Craig Seifert up front. And the Sprite, number 59, and running second is Kobus Reinecke in the Porsche 912. And then Briner Rodebaugh is running third in the Fiat 850 Spider. The corner marshals have been asked to take a look at John Gould's car 999, the Mercury Sprint car. They say the front wheels are wobbling, but I think that's the way they were built. Really? And he invited me to drive that car.
And
I'll think about it. You want to see the entry?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, there he is. He's 6. I didn't even see him. So John Gould in the Mercury Sprint car number 999, was telling me how complicated it is to go into a turn at speed. When you got the handbrake on the left, and then you're shifting, and you're trying to turn, and then you got the brake, and the...
And I just watched him go through turn 1 there, and he was sort of had his hand out to the side, telling the guy behind him, slow down. He had a hand held out sort of sideways, not like waving him by.
Oh.
Like it was like, take care.
Pass at your own risk, I think. So that Fiat Spider has his
Yeah.
trunk lid, his engine cover, I should say, jacked up. I'm sure he says it's for cooling, but it looks like an aerodynamic advantage to me. A little spoiler back there.
Oh, here's Nate, and he's coming in.
Oh, here's Nate Giuliano.
I hear a not good sound, but maybe that's just the brakes. But so he's going. Nate has decided to go up to the paddock. And
Yeah,
park
that's
his
a
car.
shame. Yep, yep. Yeah, and that's the kind of car that Alan Patterson also would drive too. A front engine. Yep.
And didn't a lot of Formula Juniors from that era also have the shifter in some strategically uncomfortable places?
Oh, did they?
I remember looking at one here years ago, and the gear shift was right between the legs. I said, I know I'm not buying this car.
Well, you know, Steve Constant said he wasn't really going to race hard, but he's not loafing out there.
No, he's a very smooth driver, and the car handles like a dream. I've had the joy of driving it a number of times, and so it's one of those things. You just drive down there and lift. You know, the speeds he's going, he's hardly braking. He just downshifts and turns it. So that car is quick.
So he's actually running in, I think he's in 5th place, actually, in the race, which is not bad for a guy who said he wasn't going to race.
Well, he's probably going 30 seconds slower than the car is capable of, if not more.
Yeah.
What are her lap times? What is his lap times looking at? I can't see.
Let's see, 2:41.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah,
he's
so
easily doing the mid 220s.
yeah. And of course, the drivers are told, and you know this perfectly well, Manley, that this is not considered to be a 10/10ths race.
Right. And really, it's fun to race here and be competitive and have a really good race. But just being able to drive it in a relaxed kind of way is such a thrill, you know. I see that 850 with the lid up is smoking quite a bit, and it has been most of the weekend as far as I can recall.
Well, maybe if they'd closed that lid, then the smoke couldn't get out.
Yeah, right, maybe. He and his brother Greg, have both been sports car racers for years. And Greg really founded the MG Vintage Racers. His brother Greg. And Greg quit driving his TD, and his daughter for a long time drove the TD that Greg used to drive. And so I think I haven't seen her come west much. She might still be doing some VSCCA stuff like Lime Rock and up there. But the pro, because we're real grassroots kind of guys. And then MGTDs weren't allowed because they were post-war. The British Sports Car Club of America was really goes back to pre-war vintage cars, and they grudgingly let TCs in, even though they were forced for, but they really thought a long time about TDs.
So car number 372, that's the white MGA of Monroe Snyder, a Pittsburgher. We understand the car is moving slowly around station 19. That's in the...
That's the Serpentine.
At
That's
the
second
Serpentine.
car, turning
Yep.
the Serpentine.
Yep.
So he's under his own power.
We can coast down the hill.
Oh.
Well,
He might pull off at the flag station at turn 20. There's a place where you can pull in behind the Jersey barrier.
and not come all the way down the hill. Yeah.
If he's not running under his own power.
Yeah, you're right. So we have double yellow. So they're gonna pick them up, and so we've got full course yellow, just so that we can send a retrieval vehicle out. You could do white flag, I guess, to indicate a slow moving
Well,
car.
the problem is that the track's so narrow there.
Oh, I see.
If he stayed on the track, there's really, that's just past the Serpentine where the pavement fell off.
Yeah, right.
2/3 of the way to 19, there's still really narrow.
It is narrow. Yeah, yeah,
So you really can't have other cars coming through there until you get him out of the way.
yeah.
Sorry to hear that. Monroe's raced here many times.
He certainly
He's always
has.
a careful driver. He's a real gentleman.
Yep.
And I believe he usually drives the car to the track, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably lives a few blocks away.
Yeah, lives nearby.
I can't recall what. Well, just says Pittsburgh. He could be right. He could be just a few blocks away, or who knows where. But so the yellow flag is telling drivers no passing. That means kind of take it easy. It really is an instruction to kind of back off your racing a little bit. We're not saying you have to go X miles an hour, and they're allowed to maintain some speed, but they are supposed to be not passing, which essentially means you're not racing during this period.
Provides an opportunity for everybody behind the leader to sort of catch up,
Yep.
depending on where they are on the track. You can't pass anybody, including lap somebody, unless they're openly waving you by
Yeah.
because they have a technical issue, and they do it in such a way that a corner worker can clearly see that it was a sensible thing for you to
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
But that's generally the rule of a double yellow flag.
I was trying to figure out what the other side would say. Of course. Just don't hold the wrong side up. Well, there's so. So again, we have yellow flags, which do tell. I mean, the yellow flag means no passing. We're also holding up a sign here at start finish that says no passing, just to re-emphasize that. And now we have a white flag out, and I'm guessing this time with the white flag at start finish means one lap to go. Right. That's what I learned, and that you would follow like an emergency vehicle or a slow moving race car with a white flag. And that the white flag in last lap was like a NASCAR.
Here they used to use the tank.
Yes, I like that. So here's Monroe Snyder's car coming in on the hook. Sorry to see Monroe coming in this way, but And the field is getting the white flag also at start finish, and the white flag here is indicating that this is the last lap. Or is it? Yeah, so the white flag here meant there's a slow-moving vehicle ahead, and it gets confusing because the white flag can also signal last lap, but in this case it's the traditional signal that there is a slow-moving vehicle ahead, and as soon as the tow truck passed us, the white flag dropped. So we think that we may be able to go green. Yep. So, yeah. Yep. So what is that? Gould's car, 999, that's being taken to, being towed, I think, to the area of Phipps Conservatory where they can pull the car off. So here's our safety cars, and here's the green flag. We are racing yet again.
Brought a water. I don't know what's
I didn't open. So we're under 5 minutes to go. We're back under green, so I'm going to guess we're only going to get a few more laps of racing. Here's again green flag at start finish, but it's a timed race for 30 minutes, and our clock says about 4 minutes to go, 4.5. It's Craig Seifert, your leader, car number 59. Car 59, the Sprite. Briner Rodabaugh, car 714 in second. That's the Fiat 850 Spider. And John Iorio running third in car 47, the Bug-Eye. John Iorio has the quickest lap in this race at 2:34.7. He's in third place. He started fifth. His fast lap was 10 seconds quicker than his fast lap in qualifying. Here's John Gould. He's brought the sprint car 999, back and is motoring his way up into the paddock, and that's a shame to see. Did you see it?
Yes.
So several of the course marshals were reporting that he had wobbling front wheels, and he told me that he had replaced some steering components just recently, has some brand new stuff in there, so maybe it didn't get tightened down or something.
Too bad. It's because it's so cool to see the sprint cars on the track. That's gotta be unbelievable.
So that's what I was told about the TCs. You raced a TC, but I had a friend here in town, and he had a TC, and I suggested that we run the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix rally in it. And he said, "You don't want to drive the TC on the road." He said it's just really an awful handling car.
Well, actually, I learned a lot about. Actually, I had a TA originally, which was the same thing as a TC, only with a really bad engine. And I worked with a bunch of guys who really knew how to set them up, and you could really actually make the TA chassis, which is fundamentally the same as the TC, really work. And the first vintage race I ever entered was at Nelson's Legends in that car.
Oh.
In 1974.
Wow.
It was. They invited us to a regional race, and the vintage race took place when the corner workers went to lunch. So I was there in my TA, with my helmet, no roll bar, and some other guy in a Gullwing Mercedes, and another guy, Edsel Fabi, a very rich guy, in a Seata Spider. And I was faster through the turns. I couldn't keep up with him much in the straights, but I could catch up to him in the turns.
Wow.
19-inch wire wheels. I had a blast with that car. That was the first. That was the only vintage race I ran for another 10 years. Moved. 1984 is the next one.
Well, maybe my friend's TC just had some loose stuff up front. Yeah, wasn't that on before? I was watching some in the Porsche race. So it also identifies where they are. Yeah, it'll show the top three, I think. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So it's kind of cool, you know, our logo up in the corner. So I don't know what does that. Some kind of a signal. So we are expecting the checker next time around for our leaders. The signboard is up here at the finish line saying 1 lap, that we're on our last lap. There's that Lagonda 1934 Lagonda Rapier, car 77, the white Lagonda, driven by Alan Patterson III of Pittsburgh, motoring around sedately. And here are the checkers for car 59. Craig Seifert, followed very soon by car 714 Bryner Rodabaugh in the Fiat 850. And then John Iorio, car 47, the Bug-Eye Sprite. So 1, 2, 3 right there.
Cool off lap, and you can just see him driving the car hands-free, probably with his knees, clapping his hands over his head, and just applauding Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix for this fantastic event.
Smoke coming out of the back of that Fiat.
Yeah, yes. Mm-hmm.
So first, second, and third have just pulled up by our Helltown podium. Here's our race winner, Craig Seifert. Oh, your wife. No, look at all your fans here. There you go. Well, we got a kick out of watching you go 3 wide into the first turn right after the green flag.
Oh, really? Was there 3? Was there 2 other cars there? I didn't even notice. No, it was a little hairy, but it was fun. Where's Nate at? Usually he was right next to me.
He came in early, I think.
Oh, did he? Yeah. He was a fast car, but these guys are great. Track's great, and had a fun time. So thank you.
Thank you for coming and helping us to celebrate 40 years here at Shenley Park. No issues, obviously, with the car. Yeah, nice flag, isn't it?
Well, I had to hold it in 3rd gear, so I drove around with one-handed, because if I left off the stick, it would pop out of 3rd. So that made it fun. My one arm's a little pumped up, but I'll celebrate, so I'll make up for that.
Congratulations. I think you'll be taking home some Helltown Brew.
I'm in. Thank you. Thank everybody. Thank the workers. Thanks, guys.
Craig Seifert. Love the Bug-Eye. Rainer Rodebaugh is second and carrying the flag for Fiat.
It can be proven that they can be reliable cars if only driven on weekends.
Now, I have to say that the corner marshals were watching your car. They said, was that a little bit of smoke coming out of the back end?
I don't know. Might have been out of my head at the moment because it sure was hot in there, but anything could happen. It sure is blazing hot out there. So far, 25 years racing this car. It's always been good and reliable to me. I appreciate everything at Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix. I appreciate the crowd. Pittsburgh crowd is awesome. All the marshals, everybody involved. The venue is beautiful. It's a beautiful racetrack. It's just a wonderful event. I come from Reading, PA, 4.5, 5 hours to drive out. No big deal, but I'm telling you, it's awesome. Competitors are awesome. Everybody's excellent drivers. These vintage cars might be old, but they sure can lay it down. And maybe our whiskers are getting gray, but I'm telling you, we still got it in the heart. It's just an awesome event for everybody.
Awesome to see you race as well. Congratulations on a fine second place.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Pick up your Helltown. And John, we were looking at the timing screen, and all of a sudden, when you're turning 240s, 244, 244, all of a sudden the screen said, fastest lap of the race, John Aurelio, 234. So you got a magic transponder in there.
I was doing very well. Tires overheated, the brakes overheated. I overheated a little bit. But no, the car ran well. You know, I'm happy where we finished today. You know, I want to thank everybody at the Vintage Grand Prix, corner workers, fans, my wife, Danny Yonda. He really helped me a lot.
Danny's a special guy. I'm glad you mentioned Danny Yonda. John Aurelio, congratulations. A very fine race. Look how pristine. It looks like a show car, man.
Well, it looked close. It's not a show car, believe me. There's probably a lot of oil under it right now.
Well, it's an English car. What do you expect?
Hey, thank you very much.
There's your Helltown. Congratulations. John Iorio.
Right.
Yes.
Me, but